then we have muscle tissue, which is so highly vascularized because this sucker takes a lot of energy. I mean, oh, so much glucose, right? And so there's 3 types for you to know. And we actually go into them more in depth, like later on. So we go into this like in the later semester of anatomy and physiology 1, and then AP2 we kind of get into these ones a little bit more in depth. You still have to like be able to recognize them under a slide, but you know. Skeletal muscle is the only one that you can control decisively or voluntarily. That's like the main muscle movers that we see, like, you know, in some of the models around the room when you see all that like red, it's the body state. And so cardiac muscle, only in the heart. Only in the heart. It's not in the circulatory system otherwise. That's actually smooth muscle, if there is any, right? Like very low amounts. And the smooth muscle tissue is forming like mainly lumens inside of organs. Like your body is still very much a worm in its theoretical construct. So like you basically have these tubes throughout your body in different forms, whether they are ducts or digestive or vessels, and they move things through by squishing things through. And squish it through with peristalsis, for example. And so smooth muscle is like that tube lining of these hollow organs, of all these tubes. It's also involuntary. You don't get to choose. Okay. Make sure just be completely in the way of some of this. Muscle tissue, skeletal muscle tissue is like super easy to recognize in my opinion because it is like a candy cane. Okay? It looks like a candy cane. So it's highly organized with all these what we call striations, which are the stripes. Okay, so the striations, these are actin and myosin, and they just like kind of allow for contraction and relaxation. They're a little spring joint made out of protein. Okay, and down here are all the nuclei. So like it's this really cool thing. This only happens in the skeletal muscle. Where like you know how normally we have like a cell and it's got a nucleus and then that's its piece. It's like one cell, one nucleus, one body, one brain. No. So like what happened in skeletal muscle is they do this thing called Myoblast Fusion where like, you know, a muscle can be really long, right? Like they're like a single muscle is just like one of the ones that we would remove from, like one more organ of muscle would be like deltoid, right? Or sartorius. It's long, some cases. And so what ends up happening is in order to make these really strong organized structures, these single cells like fuse together. And then all the nuclei get put over here and then they like maintain these large myofibrils so you can move around. So that's kind of neat. So you can have like thousands upon thousands of cells that emerge into a single cell. Like they're like huge. So fun fact. And so yeah, so this is how you would recognize them. All these like little clusters of nuclei from the Myoblast Fusion, and then like this really nice striation. Okay, voluntary. All right. So then we start like kind of going down in the messiness scale a little bit. So cardiac muscle is a little less complex looking, and still has like some of the striated visuals, right? You can see it. But like the things that define it differently are that instead of, remember like the candy cane, like perfect, that skeletal has, the heart one, heart has to wrap around in a circle. Like it has to do like a boom, 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 boom kind of thing, right? And that was the wrong direction, by the way. Right-handed. So anyway, so it does this thing where it has these kind of like lateral projections. So it attaches the ends of the muscles to other cardiac cells in kind of this like way that allows it to be irregular, so it can make that conical kind of shape. Yeah? And then here are all the places that the hands of those cells interlace. And we call those intercalated discs. Right? We don't have those in skeletal muscle at all. Like here, like just, you know, I think this is backwards. Yeah. We don't have that here. No, and there's all these nuclei free here, right? But the thing is, this cardiac muscle is it's usually like one cell gets one nucleus. And in some cases, I've also seen where we have like one cell has two nuclei, maybe. So like maybe it's like precursor or some of that. and it's irregular direction. So that's it. You only find it in the ticker. Okay. The last one is smooth muscle tissue, which looks a little goopy. Honestly, here it looks like you opened a can of sardines. It doesn't have that bright red, right? It doesn't. There's like stripes. What? Where are those? It does. So it arranges its proteins in a different way. It really is a different type of situation, but it still has that ability to, you know, like flex and relax, like contract and relax kind of thing. It has one nuclei only. This is it. No more than that. And they're all connected, and they're going to like allow for the push through of lumen or hollow organs. It's a smooth muscle. Okay. All right. All right, so nervous tissue. Let's look at nervous tissue. Nervous tissue really moves things a different way. And I think, you know, so we have a background stain. It's yellow, so that should be helpful. Most of the time it kind of is yellow in the stains that we use in class. So you have this, like, neurons do this thing where they're electrically like, not true electricity, but like it's an electric-like membrane. Okay, so it's sensitive to its environment. So if it feels something, it starts depolarizing its membrane, right? It sends a little shock wave right through the membrane. And sometimes if it gets like a lot of nudges, really it can send it a big signal. Or sometimes it gets like one big nudge and it sends a signal, okay? And that's how they communicate. It's kind of like a whole like shoulder tapping, you know, kind of thing. And so all of the shoulder taps happen through these axons and dendrites, which are the wires that you see coming off of these cell bodies, right? So it's their cell body, and there they are. And then they have, I don't know if you can notice, it looks like a mess back here, like little messes, but that's not a mess. It's actually arguably becoming the part of your brain that makes you smart. It's not your neurons, it's like your astrocytes and like these microglia and all these other cells that arrange them and keep your neurons supported and help them make those connections to each other. Okay? So back in the background is a whole set of different cell like keepers. And some of them clean up dirty cell parts, and some of them tell the dendrites and axons where to go. And like some of the, you know, they just do a whole bunch of different functions. And we'll talk about those in the last part of the semester. We'll go through like neurology and brain stuff, okay? But this is what it looks like. Those little whip-like communication arms, okay? And that is it.